I finally have books to share. So I cannot remember when's the last time. It's not been this year, because this year has not been much of a reading year, unfortunately. The first part, it was like, yeah, no, it was an absolute reading slump. But I did manage to finish quite a few books in August. I didn't quite finish all the books that I started reading, which I don't know if other people have this same like problem. But it's like when you're reading a book that you're really interested in and you're really invested in it, and then for some reason you just put it down, but you're still excited about reading it, but you don't want to finish it. Yeah, but I do have, well, I was gonna say I have all these books that I finished, but then I saw the bottle one and it's soft DNF, but these, oh, like this, these are the books that I did manage to finish, and I am actually really proud of myself. I managed to finish books. All of them have been featured in other videos on this channel, but I don't care. So I have finished 3 books of the Discworld series this month, mainly because I was gonna finish them earlier, and then I didn't, and I really want to like keep the little schedule that I have made for myself, because that is a mission that I am on. So I managed to finish 3 Discworld novels in the month of August. And if you don't know, I do have this playlist, a running series where I am rereading every single Discworld novel in a chronological order. And if you're not familiar with the Discworld novels, they were written by Sir Terry Pratchett, who sadly passed away in my defense, I am terrible with both names and dates, so the fact that I managed to remember that it was 2015, I am pretty certain. I'm sticking with it, and I'm still feeling proud about it. But yeah, they were written by Sir Terry Pratchett, an English author, and the person who introduced me to the wonders of the English language. Like, without this having been introduced to Sir Terry Pratchett, I would not be reading English. I would not be having this channel. I would not be writing in English. I would not be interested in this very strange, but yet at the same time rather, it's not that difficult of a language. I say that's probably because I've been studying it for the majority of my existence. But yeah, I am Icelandic. My native language is Icelandic. Það tungumálið sem ég tala, og það mitt móðurmál. And the thing about the Discworld novels is that there are quite a few lists running around the internet in what reading order you should be reading them. Recommended reading orders. You have like the Guard series, you have the Witcher series, you have the Death series, the novels. Then you have the standalones, you have the Rhineswind series, you have the Wizards. Because I would not recommend reading in a canonical order unless you are very familiar with the Discworld novels, because the first ones they are Discworld, but they're not the Discworld of the Discworld. Like, he was finding his footing with the novels. They aren't bad books, not by a long shot. No, they're not bad. They're just different. Yeah. I think that's the nicest way of putting it. I love the Discworld novels, but the first ones, not really recommended as a first read, not as an introduction to the Discworld novels. But yeah, preamble aside, I finished and I have put out the videos for Small Gods, which is about our dear Brutha, who turns out to be the 8th prophet of the god and I think, I'm not really sure where in the timeline of the Discworld this takes place, but one of the biggest religion on Discworld is the Church of which is very kinda like Christian Catholic-esque. Not quite, because again this is a fantasy novel, But this is essentially about the difference between true faith and the machination of any church, any power of a strong religion, which tends to turn around on itself and stop focusing on the god or gods being worshipped and start focusing on worshipping the church itself. Am I explaining this properly? But yeah, also because the god he learns a lot in this, and I love that. Going to a safer topic, we got Lords and Ladies, which is about elves and quantum physics, and we get to go back to the kingdom of Larnes, and we get to see Grady and Nanny and Margaret, who finally gets married in this book. You do kind of need to have read Witches Abroad. Yes, Witches Abroad. Go me! This is also very Midsummer Night. It's about parallel worlds, as in, well, it's not parallel as in this dimension and the other dimension. It's quantum. It's also a really nice introduction to, like, or a reflection of English folk tales, for which I do really need to recommend. Oh, here we go. The collaboration between Terry Pratchett and Jacqueline Simpson, The Folklore of Discworld, really explains a lot about the folklore. And the third Discworld novel that I read in August is Men at Arms, where we return to Ankh-Morpork. We get to meet Angua for the first time, and this time there isn't a dragon, but there is the gun. The gun. It's a fancy version of the gun. And of course, like everything else on this world, it has a mind of its own. So there's a lot of death, there's a lot of politics, there's also the backstory of Carrot Ironthunderson, who is a dwarf by adoption. He is, honestly, everyone who reads the books knows who he is in actual fact. Although never mentioned to Carrot because you might not walk away alive. It's about, basically is a deconstruction of the chosen one, of the one true king of the throne. And it's a wonderful deconstruction, so if you're interested in that, in a thriller, mystery, crime, fancy version, Men at Arms would not be remiss, honestly. So that's me gushing over the Discworld novels, because I love them. The one that I am currently reading and should be out hopefully this Thursday, if not, maybe a little later. I have not been able to keep quite on my track with these videos, but that's okay. That would be Soul Music, which is all about rock and roll on the Discworld. I love Terry Pratchett. Ah. Oh dear, which one should I take next? Let's go with my first actual, I think it's my first actual themed vlog, where I decided to read, books are attacking me, where I decided to create books based on cats, because I don't have a cat in my life. I am a cat person. I would love to have a cat. Hopefully that's in my future. And unfortunately, here we get my first soft, very soft DNF. That would be L.T. Shearer's The Cat Who Called the Killer. I love Conrad. He's this... Okay, first off, we have a male tricolor cat. It's not a tabby, it's a tortoise. Tortie? Calico is a calico. Tortie is a little bit different. But yeah, so calico cats are predominantly female, just like ginger cats are predominantly male. So Conrad is already unique. He's a male calico. But on top of that, Conrad talks. And I do like Conrad. I'm just not as fond of the main human character, Lulu. There was something there that just poked me, and I'm not sure that I'm quite ready to read this book, but I want to, so I'm softly DNFing it in the hopes that in the future I will be in the mindset and just be ready to read this book, because I want to. It has a talking cat and a potential murder mystery involved a poor old lady in the nursing home, and everyone is like, well, she had dementia, therefore it's the dementia that killed her, and it's like, no. But I think one of the things that annoyed me was something about this annoyance about political correctness, about certain attitude concerning COVID, and this having to be considered to other human beings for their other people's mental health, and not being a rude bulldozer going through life, because I've known that type of person and I do not have them in my life anymore for a reason. So that might be, I might be overthinking it. I want to read this so I can really figure out what it is about it. Because I like the cat, but I don't like the humans. And that might just be something about being a cat person. You're like, I like cats, and I like dogs as well, but cats are kind of like cats are here and dogs are a very, very close second, like really close second. But humans in general, like, I don't dislike humans. I am a human myself. Moving on. I also have Dr. Yuki Hattori. Now this is non-fiction. So Dr. Yuki Hattori is Japan's leading cat doctor, and this is What Cats Want, an illustrated guide for truly understanding your cat. And I mean, I don't have a cat. I love cats, and I like cats, and I would very much like to have a cat again sometime in my future. We had cats when I was a kid, but like, this book has these simplistic, like, they're not overly complicated drawings and images of that help you understand what is being talked about. Look, big inside cover. Little kitties. And this is all about like cat behavior, what they need, their mental like health, their physical health, what not to do when you're around cats. Just a lot of things that you really need to pay attention to when you are taking care of a cat. So it's about cats, and I wanted it, so I got it, and I read it and loved it. Really nice book. And then the next two books I do adore. Does this count as non-fiction? I think it counts as non-fiction actually, though this is... Okay, so it's Judith Robinson and Scott Pax, Literary Cats. I think technically this is non-fiction, although it's about fiction. So this is a book all about cats featured in fiction, in science fiction and fantasy, in contemporary, in poetry, movies, you name it. And it's just all about the character of the cats and how they are portrayed, what roles they play. And I love this book because it's about cats in literature and how they're portrayed. There is a chapter here also about the authors and their cats. So, like, of course, like Hemingway, who was famous for his relationship with his cats. So, wrapping it up, I also wrote a poetry book. It's cat poems by the world's greatest poets. Sorry, and I just love the cover. I just love this, and the back of it, and yeah. Oh, here's the inside cover. And this is simply just a poetry collection about, poems. all from very old poetry. I cannot remember what the oldest one. What the oldest one is. It's like at least some centuries old. Yeah, it's all from olden times to modern times. So that was all in one vlog, and then I started. I'm still thinking if I'm making a doo-doo with this, but I I am making this 4-part series all about reading these self-help books. Number one, I am not a fan of self-help books. I am not at the stage in my life where I feel the need for them anymore. I did when in my early 20s, well, early and late 20s, when they had something that for me I needed at the time. They helped me move along to figure things out. Right now I don't feel the need for them. But I saw this picture on Pinterest that was this lazy list of just the titles of the books, not the authors, so I had to do some sleuthing. And I believe that the title of this list was books that every woman should read. And I'm like, why? What is it about these books that is so important for every woman to read? So I did the first part. There are 18 books on that list. I ended up with 19 because, as it turns out, one of the titles is pretty popular. The Power of No. I believe I found like either 3 or 4 very different books with the same title. I think I found the one that's meant to be read, but again, there weren't any authors mentioned, so meh. But I did finish these 4. Let's see, where did I start? I started with Rachel Hollis's Girl, Wash Your Face. It's okay. It's not terrible. She knows how to write. I did have a bit of an Icelandic giggle over the whole girl, sister, girlfriend. I'm like, okay, weird. I see what you're doing. There are kernels in here that are useful, but honestly it just breaks my heart knowing the things that happened since this book came out. Like, she gushes over how much she loves her husband, and knowing that they are now divorced, I'm like, oh. Like, I prefer to try my best to find some empathy with other people. I feel sorry for her on that point. Sympathize with her. Moving on, the next book is Sophia Amoruso's #Girlboss. This apparently started the entire #Girlboss thing. So she is the founder of Nasty Gal, and this is definitely not a like, there are touches of self-help, like there are pointers in here, but mostly this is about Sophia Amoruso and how she founded Nasty Gal and how she figured things out. The fact that she had to step down as CEO of Nasty Gal is a development, but maybe it's just better for her personally. Third book I read is Mel Robbins' The 5-Second Rule. This is definitely a self-help book. It mostly feels like the written version of a reaction video. Because this book is absolutely full of basically like screenshots of like Instagram messages. This feels like a text message. She mentioned someone Snapchatting her. There have been emails, handwritten letters and notes. Basically she's reacting to people telling her how her talks and things that she is saying about this 5-second rule, how that has changed people's lives. This is all fine and good. This is here to sell a product, definitely on the back of it, when it's leading you to her webpage about where there's a lot of other content for you to consume. 5-second rule boils down to you count down from 5 and you go and do the thing that you are going to do. That's the gist of it. It's okay, it's a book. gets the message across. On the other hand, I absolutely love this book. It's Ali Wong's Dear Girls. Not a self-help book. This is definitely... Okay, so just so we're clear, there is crude language in here. She is very open about intimate things, about certain body parts and the usage of certain body parts. So if you are more of the delicate side of not that type of language not being suitable for you, I would not recommend reading this book. But it starts off from the get-go with that, so you know what you're getting into. And essentially this is it's a memoir put up as a series of letters from her two young daughters. And it is very frank. Like, my mother would never speak that way. Just, no. She might read it if she read English, but she would never speak that. No, not my mom. But I love this book. It's just, I was giggling, I was laughing, and I took some things to heart. With that said, I'm still not sure just what exactly the purpose of that list is. Like, feel like I'm kind of getting the gist of it, but at the same time, not quite. But again, I've got like 3 other videos to go through. I've got 15 other books to read in that series. I have a tentative plan for when I'm going to be trying and releasing those, but good lord, we'll see if that goes, how that goes. But you know, I did manage to finish 11 books. 11. I'm proud of myself. I feel like I'm finally getting out of a slump. Hopefully. These were all 4 videos that I have made. I feel like making those videos actually helped get me a little bit out of my slump, so I am happy with that. And that said, I really hope that I manage to read something in September. I should be able to. Exciting. I do have some things planned for September. I mean, yeah. We'll just see how that goes. So, anyway, if you have watched this whole thing, thank you very much for watching. And I will hopefully see you again some other time in some other video of mine. And until then, take care. See you later. Okay? Bless, bless.